In this tutorial for Team Yankee, I'm going to discuss how you roll saves for armored tanks. So going through our steps again on the shooting, we've checked our range, we checked line of sight, we cleared our targets, we rotated to face the targets, we rolled the hits, we assign those hits, now we're going to roll those saves. So how do you do that when the target is an armored tank? And again, how you tell what is what is, you go on the card, this says a tank unit, this says a tank unit, and even the Shilka is a tank unit. So those are armored tank units. An unarmored tank unit would be this, and it says unarmored tank unit. So what I'm going to cover in this video will not apply to them. I'm going to cover how they make their saves and everything in another video. Another unit that's not going to be covered in this video, but another one will be infantry saves and your aircraft. So again, this is just for armored tanks. All right, let's set up a little scenario of just one tank against one tank. This tank, the Abrams, shot and hit once. So how do we know if this is destroyed or not? So what we have to first do is, let's look at the Abrams anti-tank. The higher the number, the more powerful it is to get through opponent's armor. So it's a 20. So this opponent needs to know it's a 20. The opponent starts with front armor 16. If it was side, we would start with 8, but we're on the front armor. We're just going to keep it front for right now. And what this person does is they're going to roll this D6 and add it to their front armor. And what they're trying to do is beat that 20. So they're going to roll, and they got a 6. So 6 plus 16 is 22. They beat the anti-tank. So their armor basically deflected the shell off. It didn't penetrate their tank, and they are okay. It's like they never got hit. But let's say they roll a 4, and I did not. They rolled a 4. So we take that 16 plus 4 is 20. That equaled their anti-tank. So there's one of two possibilities. Nothing happens, just like they beat it, or they are called bailed out. So how do we know which is which? That's where the attacker then goes to their firepower. The lower the number, the better chance they have the effect happening. So they have to roll a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So if they roll a 1, they failed their firepower. 2 or higher, they succeeded. So again, we tied their anti-tank 20. This person then rolls their firepower, a 4, that is 2 or higher. What happens when you equal the armor value and they make their firepower, this tank is now bailed out. And that doesn't mean the guys have jumped out of the tank. They may be stunned. They may be checking, are we still alive? The engine may have gone out and they're trying to restart it, something. It's just basically they're not going to be able to do anything until they get back in their vehicle, and I'll talk about how they do that. So let's say they did not make the firepower, and I did not roll a 1. Okay, so let's say they rolled a 1. They didn't make their firepower, so nothing happened. When you equal, you have a chance of nothing happening to you, or you are bailed out. It depends upon if they make their firepower or not. So that's only if you equal their anti-tank. Well, let's say they roll, trying to get their anti-tank, and they rolled a 2. So we take that 16 plus 2 is 18. It did not beat their 20. There's two possibilities here. They're bailed out or they're destroyed. If they make their firepower, destroyed. That the effect happened, the bad effect happened. If they roll a 1, the lesser effect happens of bailed out. So this tank goes, okay, I'm going to try to do my firepower. Got a 3. This tank is destroyed. Because they made that 2 or higher firepower. Now let's say they roll a 1, and I did. What happens instead is they penetrated, but they didn't get that explosion or whatever, something vital in there, so it is bailed out. So that is how you roll saves on these armored vehicles, on tanks. I got some other examples to do. But one thing I do want to talk about is if the shot is over 16 inches, there is a possibility you get +1 to your armor. The only thing that's going to stop that is if it's like a heat weapon. So if we look at this is the Frogfoot, it has heat, and it says target armor is not increased for range over 16 inches. Okay? So if the shot is over 16 inches, you're normally going to add 1 to your armor, so now this would become a 17 or a 9. Top doesn't really matter. 17 or 9 if the shooter is over 16 inches, unless they are using heat. So let's see if this Abrams using heat. If they do, they get +1 to their armor, and you can go here, and there is no heat. Because again, if we go back to that Frogfoot and look at their shot, it says heat right there. So this is not a heat weapon. So no plus to their armor. But if this Frogfoot was shooting and it's over 16 inches, they do get +1. Now they're at 17 instead of 16. So keep that in mind. The distance can up the armor value of the opponent. Now, if they would have shot on the side, they have 8 armor. They have a 20. Even if you rolled a 6, the most you can get is 14. Even if they're over 16 inches, 9 plus 6 is 15. The most they can get is 15. There is no way they're going to beat that 20. So this doesn't even get a save. You don't waste your time rolling. It hit the 20. No matter what you roll on this, it's going to get through on the 8 plus 6 is 14. So this person goes straight to firepower. Is it destroyed or is it bailed out? It's destroyed. The same thing would happen if the Shilka gets shot at. So this tank hits the Shilka. What's the armor of the Shilka? Well, its front armor is 1. Most it can get is 7. That is no way even close to this 20. It goes automatic. Boom, it's destroyed. So if the armor value, there's just no chance of making it, don't waste your time rolling. Just go straight to firepower. Now, let's take this situation. This tank actually got hit twice. So you're going to have to make 2 saves. All right, so one is a possible bailout because that we're going to say these within 16. So that equaled it, but this one failed. So what do? Normally just roll the failed one first. It's destroyed. You don't even need to worry about this one. But if it failed its firepower, it's bailed out. Now this one needs to roll. Made its firepower. It's another bailout. Now I'll get to what happens here in just a minute. But if it failed, nothing else happened, that would not be there. It's just one bailout. But we got a second bailout now. It hit twice. Once was a glance. It made its firepower. One penetrated, did not make a firepower. What happens when you're double bailed? This has to do a remount check immediately to stay in the game. So we're going to go to our card here. Remount's a 3+. You roll a 3+, boom. It's only that one bailout again. It's still in the game. If they rolled, I can't roll it. If they would have rolled that, it would be considered destroyed. The guy's abandoned the tank. They're out of here. That's just getting too dangerous for them. So remember, if you're bailed out 2, 3, 4, whatever times, each time you're bailed out an extra time, take that remount check. If you succeed, you're still just only bailed out. Let me get this back on there so it's not confusing. If you ever fail when you got that double bailout or 3 or whatever, and you have to keep making those saves, and you fail that remount check, it is destroyed. So what happens when you are bailed out? Pretty much through the whole turn until it's your turn, this tank does nothing. It can't shoot, it can't assault. Even if it's assaulted, it can't do anything. If it's artillery, it can't do artillery. It does nothing. It can't even receive movement orders to move 4 inches. It just sits there. It's out of the game. Basically, the opponent can still try to destroy it, but for you as a player owning this tank, it's doing nothing. So when can you get this back? When can you get this back in action? Well, when it gets to your turn, and you're going through your starting step. You go down, reserve pin down, bog down, remount bailed out tanks. So on your turn during your starting step, you'll go through all these in order. So you have to do this first, this second, this third, this fourth, this fifth. And I'll have a video about this. I want to get through everything you do before I go through this, because these will make more sense when I go through what these are. It says remount bailed out tanks. That's that remount number. So you go here, you roll. That and 5, it's okay. On your turn, it acts like nothing ever happened to it. If you failed, it's still bailed out on your turn and can do nothing for your turn and nothing on the opponent's turn. Now, let's say these two got hit and both of them are bailed out. You have to roll separately for each. It's not for the whole unit you check. So this one has check. This one's okay. And this one's okay. But it may come out that that one's not. So this one's okay. That one's not. This one can do nothing. This one is normal. Last thing I want to cover is if your tank is destroyed in a game. What you do is, some people just take the turrets off like this. Some people will turn them on their side or upside down. Whatever you do, I just use kind of the smoke like this, and you leave it on the table. It now becomes it becomes terrain. So leave your tanks on the table. If they get destroyed, if they fail a morale check, they're going to run away, and you just take them off the table. And that is how you roll saved for armored vehicles, armored tank.